First reading is from Isaiah. Surely he was born our infirmities and carried our diseases. Yet we counted him stricken, struck down by God, and afflicted. But he was wounded for our transgressions, crushed for our iniquities. Upon him was the punishment that made us whole, and by his bruises we are healed. All we like sheep have gone astray. We have all turned to our own way. And the Lord has said on him the iniquity of us all is laid on him. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth, like a lamb that is led to the slaughter. And like a sheep that before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By a perversion of justice he was taken away. Who could imagine his future? For he was cut off from the land of the living, stricken for the transgressions of my people. They made his grave with the wicked and his tomb with the rich, although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the will of the Lord to crush him in pain. When he made his life a suffering for sin, he shall see his offspring and shall prolong his days. Through him the will of the Lord shall prosper. Out of his anguish he shall see life. He shall find satisfaction through his knowledge. The righteous one, my servant, shall make him righteous, and he shall bear their iniquities. Therefore I will allot him a portion with the great, and he shall divide the spoil with the strong, because he poured out himself to death and was numbered with the transgressors. Yet he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Psalm 91 responsive. Because you made the Lord your refuge and the Most High your habitation.
No evil will befall you, nor shall affliction come near your dwelling.
For God will give the angels charge over you to guard you in all your ways.
Upon your hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against the stone.
You will tread upon the lion, club, cub, and viper. You will trample down the lions and the serpent.
I will deliver those who cling to me. I will hold them because they know my name.
They will call me, and I will answer them. I will be with them in trouble. I will rescue and honor them.
With long life will I satisfy them and show them my salvation.
The second reading is from Hebrews chapter 5. Every high priest chosen from among mortals is put in charge of things pertaining to God on their behalf, to offer gifts and sacrifices for sins. He is able to deal gently with the ignorant and wayward, yet since he himself is subject to weakness. And because of this, he must offer sacrifice for his own sins as well as for those of the people. And one does not presume to take this honor, but takes it only if called by God, just as Aaron was. So also Christ did not glorify himself in becoming a high priest, but was appointed by one who said to him, "You are my son, today I have begotten you." As he says in another place, "You are a priest forever, according to the order of Melchizedek." In the days of the flesh, Jesus offered up prayers and applications, but loud cries and tears to the one who was able to save him from death. And he was heard because of his reverent submission. Although he was a son, he learned obedience through what he suffered. And having been made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him, having been designated by God a high priest according to the order of Melchizedek. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
translation called The Message, because I believe it kind of really helps this story come to life. But as Jesus and the disciples were back on the road, they set out for Jerusalem. Jesus had a head start on them, and they were following, puzzled and not just a little afraid. He took the 12 and began to go over again what to expect next. Listen to me carefully. We're on our way up to Jerusalem, and when we get there, the Son of Man will be betrayed to the religious leaders and scholars. They will sentence him to death. They will hand him over to the Romans, who will mock and spit on him, give him the 3rd degree, and kill him. And after 3 days, he will rise again. James and John, Zebedee's sons, came up to him and said, "Teacher, we have something you want to do for us." "What is it? I'll see what I can do," Jesus said. "Arrange it," they said, "so that we will be awarded the highest places of honor in your glory, one at your right and the other at your left." Jesus said, "You have no idea what you're asking. Are you capable of drinking the cup I drink, of being baptized with the baptism I'm about to be plunged into?" "Sure," they said. "Why not?" Jesus said, "Come to think of it, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized in my baptism. But to be awarding places of honor, that is not my business. There are other arrangements for that." When the other 10 heard of this conversation, they lost their tempers with James and John. Jesus got them together to settle things down. "You've obsessed how godless rulers throw their weight around," he said. "And when people get a little power, how quickly it goes to their heads. I'm not going to be that way with you. Whoever wants to be great must become a servant. Whoever wants to be first among you must be a slave. That is what the Son of Man has done. He came to serve, not to be served, and then to give away his life in exchange for many who are held hostage." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, O Christ.
Please be seated. Humility and humbleness. Those are not necessarily 2 traits that are held up in high esteem in our society. Humility is often seen as a sign of weakness, as if, we are humiliated, we have to kind of go on our way with our tail between our legs. Humiliation is not easy. To live in humility. And humbleness carries a similar tone, doesn't it? That was a humbling experience, we think. Kind of like we bring put in our place. We don't like to be humble. But it's interesting that these 2 traits that our society kind of stuffs down are the 2 traits that Jesus raises up. He tells both his disciples and us that we are to live in humility and humbleness. Jesus says to love one another as he has loved us. And when he says that, he means to love in humility and in humbleness. The reading we heard today is probably one of Jesus' most stern teachings, and rightly so, because what in the world were James and John thinking? I know James and John, along with Peter, formed Jesus' inner circle. They were kind of like his executive committee, if you will. They were the ones closest to Jesus. But had they not been paying attention? Were they still flying high from that time they were up on the mountain and they saw Moses and Elijah and saw Jesus transfigured? Had they lost their minds? Were they not listening? Because remember, Jesus had just given his 3rd passion prediction. The most clear one yet. Jesus said, the Son of Man, me, will be betrayed and given over to religious authorities. They will sentence me to death. They will hand me over to the Romans. They will mock me. They will spit on me. They will divide up my clothes. They will hang me on a cross to die, right in front of the world. But on the third day, I will rise again. Does that seem clear to you? Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of confusion in that. I don't know, it seems kind of clear to me. It might sound preposterous, it doesn't make a lot of sense, actually, to think about it in that day, but it's perfectly clear. If anything, you think the disciples would be saying, Jesus, can you give us a little more detail about that? We're not sure how that's going to play out. How does that talk about you being king? How does that give you glory? And what's this rising again thing? Because if we know this is going to happen to you, maybe we can plan ahead. Maybe we can get a security detail so that nobody can arrest you. Maybe we can do something. But no. Instead, they want to arrange a special seating arrangement for themselves. Jesus, you can sit in the center. You can sit in that really nice place, and we can sit on either side of you. We can have those special seats to the right and to the left. Because that's how it worked for the Romans. They had somebody in the center, maybe Caesar, and his right hand and left hand man. That's how it worked with the other authorities. Why not you, Jesus? Because the disciples had not yet figured out that this is not the way things worked with Jesus. That his kingdom was not of this world. Jesus said, can you drink the cup that I must drink? And kind of remember their context. They're probably going, well, you know, Jesus is king, so I imagine that wine would be the best there can be. Sure, Jesus, we'll drink the cup with you. And he says, can you be baptized as I have been baptized? They're thinking back, well, yeah, I remember that John the Baptist story. You know, a voice came down from heaven and a dove came upon him. That sounds good to us. Sure, we can do that. That all sounds good. I don't know, I've never seen a drawing of Jesus being bald. But in these particular situations, I can imagine how he might be pulling his hair out. Have you not been listening? Oh my gosh. Jesus says, what is going on with you folks? Because the other 10 have heard the conversation, and they're starting to be unruly. Who do you think you are, James and John? Let us take those spots. And Jesus broke up the fight. When people get a little authority, they tend to throw their weight around. Don't do it, he said. If you want to be great, you must become a servant. If you want to be first, you must be a slave. I did not come to be served, to sit in that fancy chair, to have people sitting on my right and my left looking smug and looking down on people. I came to give away my life so that others might live. It's a reminder to us that it takes great strength to live in humbleness and humility. Because humility is not being a wimp. It does not mean you back down when things get tough. Did Jesus back down when he was being led to the cross? Did Jesus back down when faced with the power of sin and death that he must defeat for each and every one of us? He went strongly. I understand that during World War II, why Winston Churchill was often called a lion. But after the war he was over, he was quoted as saying, "I was not the lion, but it fell to me to give the lion's roar." Because when we are faced with tough situations, we will not always be confident. We may be fearful of being humiliated. But remember, Christ is with you. James and John did not find those choice seats at the right and to the left, but two other men did. One hung on Jesus' right, and one hung on Jesus' left, and one received the promise that day, "Today you will be with me in paradise." It's costly to follow Jesus, but remember, he gave up his life for us, the greatest payment ever. Remember, it's not about us, because Jesus has already taken care of that. It's about us serving others. It's about us being humble to live and serve. As we close today, I think it's important for us to remember the Christ hymn. The Christ hymn that Paul wrote to the Philippians. Paul wrote, "Let the same mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus, who though he was in the form of God, did not regard equality with God as something to be exploited, but he emptied himself, being born of a slave, being born in human likeness, and being found in human form, he humbled himself and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross." Because on the cross you will find the glory